I lost my marriage because of one secret, not an affair. Not because I stopped loving my wife, not because I wanted to hurt her. I lost her because I spent years hiding a part of my life that I was too afraid to tell her about. Before I met my wife, I had a relationship with another woman, and together we had a son. For years, I convinced myself I was protecting my marriage by keeping that secret buried. I sent money. I stayed involved. I saw my son whenever I could, but I never told my wife the truth. Then one day she found out, and in a matter of minutes, everything I had spent years building started to fall apart. If you're wondering how to destroy your marriage, keep one secret for too long. When I met my wife, I thought I had been given a second chance at life. She was kind, honest, and everything I never thought I deserved. At that point, my relationship with my son's mother had already ended. We weren't together. We weren't trying to rebuild anything. The only thing connecting us was our child. I remember telling myself I would explain everything to my future wife when the time was right. Not on the first date, not too early. I didn't want to scare her away. Then weeks became months, months became years, and the longer I waited, the harder it became to tell the truth. Every time I wanted to say something, fear stopped me. What if she left? What if she couldn't accept it? What if I lost the best thing that had ever happened to me? So I stayed silent. I convinced myself that silence was safer than honesty. After we got married, I continued sending money to support my son. I created excuses whenever I needed to leave. Work meetings, helping a friend, running errands. The lies became part of my routine. And that's what scares me most when I look back. Not how big the secret was, but how normal it started to feel. Because while my wife believed she knew everything about me, there was an entire part of my life she had never seen. For years, I believed I had everything under control. My wife never asked questions, and I never gave her reasons to. At least that's what I thought. Looking back, the signs were there. The unexplained trips, the phone calls I always took outside, the moments when I seemed distracted for no reason. I thought I was being careful. I wasn't. One Saturday morning, I told my wife I had to help a coworker move some furniture. Instead, I drove 2 hours to spend the day with my son. We went to a park, had lunch together, talked about school. It was one of those days that reminded me why I had worked so hard to stay in his life. Before I left, he handed me a drawing. At the top, he had written 3 words. My dad forever. I folded it carefully and slipped it into my jacket pocket. Then I drove home. I never meant for my wife to find it. A few days later, she was doing laundry. I was in the kitchen when I heard my name. Not the way she normally said it. There was something different in her voice. Something cold. When I walked into the room, she was holding the drawing. My heart stopped. For a few seconds, neither of us said a word. Then she looked at me and asked a question I had feared for years. Who is he? I wish I could tell you I finally told the truth. I wish I could tell you I sat down and explained everything honestly. Instead, I lied again, and that was the moment everything became impossible to fix. After my wife found the drawing, everything changed. At first, she kept asking questions. Simple questions, reasonable questions, questions I should have answered honestly years ago. Who is he? Why does he call you Dad? How long has this been going on? But every answer I gave only made things worse, because every answer led to another lie. I told her he was the son of a close friend. She didn't believe me. I said I was helping a family that was struggling. She didn't believe that either. For the first time in our marriage, I could see distrust in her eyes. And the truth was, she was right not to trust me. A few days later, while I was at work, my phone rang. It was my wife's number. The moment I answered, I knew something was wrong. She wasn't crying. She wasn't yelling. She was quiet. Too quiet. Don't lie to me anymore, she said. My stomach dropped. Somehow, she had found the truth. Later, I learned that she had searched through old documents, bank transfers and messages. Piece by piece, she had uncovered everything. The money I had been sending, the visits, the years of secrets, the son I had never told her about. When I got home that night, she was sitting in the living room waiting for me. I had imagined this moment 1,000 times, but nothing prepared me for the look on her face. She wasn't angry anymore. She was hurt, and somehow that was worse. Tears filled her eyes as she asked me the question I had been avoiding for years. Did you ever trust me enough to tell me the truth? I opened my mouth. but no words came out. Because for the first time, I realized something devastating. The biggest problem wasn't that I had a son. The biggest problem was that I had built our entire marriage on a secret. And now the woman I loved more than anything was looking at me like a stranger. That night, neither of us slept. My wife stayed in the bedroom. I sat alone in the living room staring at the floor. For years, I had feared this moment. Now that it had arrived, I realized something. The truth wasn't destroying my marriage. My lies were. The next morning, she barely looked at me. The silence between us felt unbearable. I tried explaining. I told her I was afraid. I told her I didn't want to lose her. I told her I thought I was protecting our relationship. But every explanation sounded weaker the moment it left my mouth. Finally, she looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "You didn't protect our marriage. You protected yourself." I felt tears forming in my eyes, because deep down I knew she was right. Every lie, every excuse, every secret meeting, they had all been choices. My choices. And she had spent years loving a version of me that wasn't completely real. For the next few weeks, our home became painfully quiet. We still lived together. We still ate at the same table, but it felt like there was an ocean between us. One evening, I found her sitting alone on the porch. She looked exhausted, like someone carrying a weight they never asked for. Then she asked a question that shattered me. "How many times did you look me in the eyes and lie?" I couldn't answer, because the number was too high. And because for the first time, I saw my secret through her eyes. She wasn't hurt because I had a son. She was hurt because I had stolen her right to choose. I had decided what she could handle. I had decided what she deserved to know. I had taken away her ability to make an informed decision about her own marriage. And now, she wasn't sure she knew who I really was anymore. A few days later, she packed a suitcase, not because she was leaving forever. At least that's what she said. She needed space, time, distance. As I watched her walk toward the door, I felt something I had never felt before. Not fear, not guilt, regret. The kind of regret that comes when you finally understand that one mistake has cost you the most important person in your life. It's been almost a year since my wife walked out of that house with a suitcase in her hand. People often ask me if I regret hiding the truth. The answer is simple. Every single day. The hardest part isn't living alone. It isn't the silence. It isn't waking up in an empty house. The hardest part is knowing that none of this had to happen. My son was never the problem. He never was. The problem was that I spent years asking my wife to trust me while giving her reasons not to. I convinced myself that I was protecting everyone. My son, my marriage, my future. But all I really protected was my own fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of losing the woman I loved. And in the end, that fear became the very thing that cost me everything. Sometimes I look at old photographs of us, vacations, birthdays, ordinary evenings on the couch, and I wonder how many of those memories would still exist if I had simply told the truth from the beginning. Maybe she would have accepted it. Maybe she wouldn't have. But at least she would have had the choice. And that's what hurts the most. I didn't lose my marriage the day she discovered my secret. I lost it every time I chose another lie instead of the truth. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. A relationship can survive difficult truths. What it rarely survives is years of deception. And if you're holding on to a secret, hoping it will somehow disappear with time, take it from someone who learned too late. Time doesn't bury the truth. It only makes the damage worse when it finally comes to light. If this story moved you, please leave a like and subscribe to Dark Whispers. And remember, sometimes it's not the truth that destroys a relationship. It's the silence that comes before it.